الحمد لله عن الذات عظيم الصفات السامي السمات كبير الشان جليل القدر رفيع الذكر المطال الأمر جليل البرهان فخيم الأزمة غزير العلم وسيء الحلم قصير الغفران جميل الثناء جزيز العطاء مجيب الدعاء ميم الأحسان سريع الحساب شديد العقاب عالم العذاب عزيز السلطان ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له في الخلق والأمر ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله المبعوث للأسود والأحمر المنعوت بالشر الصدر ورفع الذكر وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله أصحاب الذين هم الخلاصة العرب الأربعة وخير الخلق بعد الأنبياء. أما بعد فأيها الناس وحد الله فإن التوحيد رأس الطاعة واتقوا الله فإن التقى ملك الحسنات وعليكم بالسنة فإن السنة تهدي إلى الطاعة ومن أطاع الله ورسوله فقد رشد واهتدى وإياكم والبدع فإن البدع تهدي إلى المعصية ومن يعص الله ورسوله فقد ضل وغوى وعليكم بالصدق فإن الصدق ينجي والكذب يهلك وعليكم بالإحسان فإن الله يحب المحسنين ولا تقنطوا من رحمة الله فإنه أرحم الراحمين ولا تحب الدنيا فتكونوا من الخاسرين ألا وإن نفسا لن تموت حتى تستكمل رزقها فاتقوا الله واجملوا في التوبة وتوكلوا عليه فإن الله يحب المتوكلين وبعده فإن ربكم مجيب الدعين واستغفروه يمددكم بأموال البنين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم إن الذين يستكبرون عن عبادتي سيدخلون جهنم داخرين بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات وذكر الحكيم أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين واستغفروه فإنه هو الغفور الرحيم. قال عز وجل شأنه في سورة الأحزاب إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا وشفينا حبيبنا نبينا مولانا محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given us this beautiful Jumatul Mubarak in the blessed month of Safar, in which we have come together in the most beautiful day Allah has chosen to be the Yawm al-Jum'ah, that we come together and remind ourselves of the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I recited the ayah from Surah Al-Ahzab, which is chapter 33 in the Quran, and ayah number is 56. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed Allah and His angels are sending salawat upon Nabi Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And O you who believe, send your salawat and salam upon Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There are much more detail, and since the next month is Rabiul Awwal, I thought I should remind myself and do some special respect for Nabi Alayhi Salatu Wasalam, that his coming, what was the benefit of his coming to the world for this dunya. Nabi Alayhi Salatu Wasalam have said about 140 or more hadiths about the Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to send salawat upon him. If you search the encyclopedia of hadith, s.a.w, and actually more than that, you'll find at least 140 hadith directly about sending salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So when we learn from scholars that Allah says, Allah Himself and His angels are sending the salawat upon Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. So then Adam alayhi salam was created sometime. Angels were created at some time. Other creatures were created at some time. But Allah has no time of creation. So it means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not given in this ayah the time since when He was sending salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we also understand from that Allah has no end to His existence. So then He will be sending salawat upon Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, even then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam has passed away, and then creation will be ended, Yawm al-Qiyamah will be established. Allah has no end to His existence. So Allah will be sending da'iman salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and His salam also. So we as a believer have a benefit of being His ummah and being the believer in La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, have a direct command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is not an option. Allah is saying, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. This is an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to people of Ahlul Iman, the people who have an Iman and believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all the books and the Anbiya and the angels and the Yawm al-Qiyamah and Akhirah. آمنت بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر وقدر خيره وشره من الله تعالى وبعث بعد الموت إقرار باللسان وتصديق بالقلب وعمل الساعة. All these things are part of article of faith and belief of Iman, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying send salawat upon him. Also, there are two aspects also mentioned in the Quran, in which one ayah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يَهْدِكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ قُلْ أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْكَافِرِينَ. So this is another aspect to understand, and sometimes we have to clarify this for our comprehension, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, say, O Muhammad, Allah is addressing to Rasulullah, قُلْ Muhammad, you tell to the people, إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ. If you claim that you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hubb is love. If you claim to be a lover of Allah, فَاتَّبِعُونِي, then obey me. So attain the love of Allah, one have to obey Muhammad Rasulullah. فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ. So this is the path to bring the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then قُلْ أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ. Say to obey Allah and His Messenger. فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْكَافِرِينَ. And if you turn away from this call, Allah does not love the one who are denied or who do the kufr from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then in Surah Ashura, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this ayah has been interpreted in two meanings: traditional, original understanding, and the current contemporary understanding. In Surah Ashura, which is chapter number 43, verse number 22, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Qul, say, O Muhammad, to the believers, La as'alukum alayhi ajr. I do not ask you for any ajr for the deed that I brought you to the Islam and I saved you from the hellfire. Illa al-muwaddata fil qurba. Except the love in closeness." The traditional interpretation of this was that it is a love, closeness to Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. His personality is weak. The love, mawadda. Wadda is in Arabic also means love. But what kind of love? There's a hubb, there's a wad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one of the attributed name is Wadud, al-Wadud, the loving one. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written this, I do not ask you for any return and payback for what I have done for you, but I ask you except for nothing for closeness with the love. Now the traditional interpretation was that it was the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his family and his loved ones. Contemporary interpretation, which are also, because Quran has to be understood and interpreted in context, so it can have multiple meanings. It is that also, it means that except I ask you to love each other in the closeness of Islam. So we have two obligations to understanding this ayah, that one is to love to Rasulullah and his family and his companions and his all loved ones, or whoever he loved, but we should love each other in our close relation with our family and our loved ones and our friends and our community and our humanity and our existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. وَمَن يَقْتَرِفْ حَسَنًا نَزِدْ لَهُ فِيهَا حُسْنًا. And whoever brings goodness with more of it, and the kindness with the most affection, so Allah will give him return of that. Inna Allah ghafurun shakur. Indeed, Allah is all forgiving and appreciative of what person does. So we have a command in this ayah about loving Rasulullah and loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the prior ayah of Surah Al-Imran. So we should distinguish these two parts. Again, everybody has their own comprehension of our lifestyle, the way we believe, the way we have. There's a general concept of belief, and then there is a specific interpretation of it. So among the Muslims, in my personal experience, and I'm sure all of you are very much mature and experienced people, we have understood. Some people say just loving Rasulullah by the word and showing it in self and then doing certain ways to show their love. Other people say if you really love him, then follow his sunnah. So there is a condition put in by certain scholars, which is absolutely part of the requirement. Not that we can say I love you, but I do not care for you. So when we are in love, we should talk about the person. We should try to discuss about that person. We should try to educate other worldly people about that person or being. And this is something which we all have to start understanding. And as you may have heard the word, when we were young, we always have somebody to look up to or to think of our role model, or somebody we want to look like or act like or behave like or be like. So we try to adapt that culture. First thing comes in our heart and mind of a person's life, and then we start acting like that person. We dress like them, we try to comb our hair like them, we will try to wear our facial features and makeup and dresses, and then we talk and walk and act like that person. All this, we imitate our role model. And there's a part of imitation and there's a part of believing which is internal. So first it has to come in inside, then it has to show outside. It never happened that somebody we do not like or we do not love or we do not have an honor or respect, and we act like that person. For example, there are other cultures and traditions in which people dress like a yellow saffron cloth, like Hindu faith, or the Buddhist faith, or the other religion. We do not imitate them. We do not dress like that. We don't even want to be looking like that, because we know that that kind of get-up or appearance is belonging to a certain faith people, certain type of people or belief value. So we have adopted the culture of Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi. So as Islam was spreading in from Arabia to the other neighboring nation, and in those days the dressings were different, but today the dressing is different. And I remember somebody told me when I was young that if at one time in subcontinent, if a person would enter the masjid wearing pants as British pants, which we wear the European brought, they would not be allowed to enter the masjid because that was considered non-Islamic dress. So things have changed with the time. It was also that other than Arabic language was not allowed in the khutbah. And today we do not have a khutbah without Arabic language or English language. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this understanding and comprehension. And then in Surah At-Tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again reminds us in a very unusual way, a claim. In Surah At-Tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ Say, O Muhammad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وَأَبْنَاؤُكُمْ وَإِخْوَانُكُمْ وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم وأموال من اقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها ومساكن ترضونها أحب إليكم من الله ورسوله وجهاد في سبيله فتربصوا حتى يأتي الله بأمره إن الله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is demanding something. Up till now it was a command, but now there is a demand. And this demand comes in a very aggressive form. It says, O Muhammad Sallallaho Alaihi, tell to the people of faith who says they are believers, if your fathers or forefathers, your sons and your grandsons, your brothers and your cousins, and your spouses, and your relatives, and your wealth, the one which you have stored and hoarded and kept together, the trade and business which you are afraid of losing, your homes in which you feel pleased and are agreed with those residents of dwelling which you have, is more beloved to you from Allah wa Rasul and His Messenger. If more beloved to you from Allah and His Messenger, and the struggle in the path of Allah. So then sit, fatarabbasu, then sit down. This is the threat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hatta ya'ti Allah bi amri, till the Allah's command comes upon you. Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-fasiqin. Indeed, Allah does not guide the people who have done the fisq, means disobedience, rejection of the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now there is a threat with the demand of Allah. And this is something we cannot comprehend unless we are really fully getting into it. We do understand that why Sahaba Kiram radhiyallahu ta'ala alayhim ajmeen, why they were so much eager to do everything in their life and sacrifice everything of their existence and their belonging for the love for Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. There are a few things which we have learned from the scholars and from the essence from Hadith. There's only one act in which both angels, Kalaman and Katibin, become active same time. There is nothing a human Muslim does in which both become active. Because if you are doing sin, you cannot have the s.a.w, and the right one who writes the good deeds, the left one who writes the bad deeds. So if person is doing a bad deed, the guy from the good deed will not be active. And if you're doing hasanat, the guys from the left side who write the sayyat cannot be active. But there is only one action in which Allah and His angel and the one who is sitting on the right and left all become active. And that is the salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Hadith of Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam is when somebody sends salawat upon him, and there are many, many hadiths, and inshallah, if time permits, I'll try to read some of them. So, when we send one salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this is start writing the good deed, 10 hasanat, and this guy start wiping the 10 sayyat. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send His 10 salawat and elevate the 10 darajah of the person who is doing this action. This is the only action in Muslim's life that brings God along with His angel become active. So this is something we should know. The Kiram and Katibin, all of them become active. And then, we are sending only one salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah, but we are getting 10 times return on it. There is not a deal in any action of ibadah where we get this kind of reward. And then, when a person becomes angry and feel anger towards anything in his life happening, and as we know, Hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is, anger is from shaitan. If we have angered from any reason, we should start reciting salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah. It calms the person down. As we know, scientifically proven in the corporate world that teaches us in the world that if you are in a deadlock and heated argument in a business transaction and you are not able to deal with it, what you should do? You should just change the scene, change the topic. Such as if you are talking to somebody and the deal is not going through, both are head-on locking. If you say that it's a beautiful weather today, suddenly the whole scenario will be drawn. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what did he say? When you are angry, what should you do? If you're sitting, stand up. If you're standing, just walk. If you're walking, make a wudu. And anger is one of the things which breaks the wudu, according to ulama. So if we send salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we get blessing upon it. I remember when I was in Egypt and being a Pakistani background, we did not have this thing in the culture. When I went there, when two Arabs will argue each other on anything, so one will say, Sallam. And that was one of the ways the Arabs solved the conflict or disagreement. They start sending salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah. It is one of the beautiful ways. To then when you send salawat upon Nabi Sallallahu, Allah sends salawat upon you, the angels start writing good deed, the left one start wiping the bad deed, and things become resolved, the person becomes calmer. So this is the words have an essence of effect on human body. Certain music when we hear, we feel different. When we see certain things, we feel different. When we smell, it affects our body. So humans have 5 senses of perception, and those senses return to us. And Hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, whoever sends salawat upon Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with ikhlas qalb, the pure heart, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala give this return to him. And this hasanat comes to this way. So what we should understand is that for us, it is one of the greatest of the blessings that we receive. Sahaba came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They said, Ya Rasulullah, we understand how to send salam upon you. But when this ayah, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi was revealed, they did not understand how to send a salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, قل اللهم صل على محمد وأزواجه وذرياته كما صليت على إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذرياته كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. This was one of the salawat among many of the salawat that Nabi taught this ayah. Another hadith from Muslim. أبي بن أيوب وغيرهما عن كعب عن ألقمة عن عبد الرحمن بن جبير عن عبد الله بن عمرو بن عاص إنه سمع النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام يقول إن إذا سميتم المؤذن فقولوا مثل ما يقول ثم صلوا عليه فإنه من يصلي صلاة صلى الله عليه بها 10 ثم صلوا الله لي الوسيلة فإنها منزلة في جنة لا تنبغي إلا لعبد من عباد الله وأرجو أن أكون أنا هو فمن سألني الوسيلة حلت له الشفاعة. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, when the muazzin gives the azan, when the muazzin is giving the azan, you should repeat whatever he is saying. And then after the azan is finished, you should send salawat upon me. And whoever does that, and ask for wasila for me. And wasila is a station, is a position. In the day of judgment, Allah will give it to one of his abd, one of his slave. And I am hoping to be that one. So ask for me to be put on that wasila position. And whoever asks for this wasila for me, this place, it will be obligatory upon me. And I assure that I will intercede for that person. So after the adhan, we should say, Allahumma Sallallaho Muhammad wa ala Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. And this is also known as Durood Ibrahimi or Salawat al-Ibrahimiyya in Arabic. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, whenever he would enter into the masjid and whenever he exit the masjid, he used to make dua. ربي اغفر لي ذنوبي وفتح لي أبواب رحمتك إذا خرج صلى على محمد وسلم وقال ربي اغفر لي ذنوبي وفتح لي أبواب فضلك. So whenever he would enter the masjid, he would make this dua and then send salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent salawat upon himself in his salah and his action. So Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, when he would leave the masjid, he would make this dua and send salawat upon himself. So entering the masjid with the right foot and exiting the masjid with the left foot, it is being taught to us by the ulama. So we should do this dua. After that we should send salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then there are other detailed ahadith and du'as are being recommended and mentioned by Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As I said, I was trying to prepare the khutbah. It was 140 ahadith. But essence of all the hadith is send salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah. So we should not be hesitant. As we know, there's one hadith that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam entered the Masjid al-Nabawi and he put his first foot on the mimbar and then second foot and he said Ameen, Ameen, Ameen 3 times. Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, today we saw something unusual in your action. Is there something new about the deen that we should do? He said, no. When I was stepping up, Jibreel appeared to me and he said 3 types of dua. And I said Ameen. So Nabi Jibreel is making dua and Nabi saying Ameen. That's not going to be missed. He said, first step, and I put, he says, whoever find the month of Ramadan and did not make a rada or please his Lord, Rabb, he is perished. I said, Ameen. Then second step, he said, whoever find his parents, father and mother, or one or the other, and did not please them, and they passed away, is perished. The third one, whoever hear my name and did not say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So we should be very mindful, and that person is also perished. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam asked the Sahaba, who is the most of the miser? Miserliness is a very unusual thing. See, conjuice. Miserliness or stingy. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, it's not the one who does not give the sadaqah and khairat al-hasanat. He said, no. He said, whoever heard my name, Muhammad, and did not say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So this is when we read this ayah, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Ulama says that when you have heard this ayah, Imam is reciting, or whoever recites, he himself, or that person himself, and all the listeners should say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, wa sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب من والده وولده وماله ونفسه وجميع الناس. There are multiple hadiths in these references that nobody can reach the status of Iman unless that person loves me more than his self, his wealth, his world, his everything in between heaven and earth. And similarly, in other hadith he says, you will not have a completed faith unless you love your brother what you love for yourself. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب لأخيه لما تحب لنفسه. So we have a command from Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As educated people, we also should be more understanding that we may disagree with each other, but our love as a Muslim brother in Muslim community should not be lessened. We may fight with each other. We may have issues with each other. As we know, Sahaba have had that fight with each other. Yet they did not call each other kafir on this basis. As we know that Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu was asked about it when Muawiyah radiallahu anhu's army came. And people said that he was non-Muslim. He said, no, they are rebellious, but they are Muslim. Ali radiallahu anhu, when the battle of Siffin and Jamal, in both battles, when those people died, he put the Salat al-Janazah on them. And when they asked for the ghanim for those people, those who won his army, so what a wise thing he did. He said, you want to loot their wealth, whatever they have left out? And they were not understanding why Ali is asking such things that they should be returned to them. So then he said, how can I explain these people? So he said, okay, al-Mu'mineen Aisha in Battle of Jamal has become now prisoner because they lost the battle. He said, who is going to take her as a slave? Everybody ran out. They said, oh, she's our mother. Sometimes he has to do extreme things to make people understand. And this is all that is. So they said, Ali, we fight for you, we are in trouble. We fight against you, we are in trouble. Sometimes the believers have to come through the situation where they do not know how to deal with the situation. As we are seeing right now what is happening in Turkey and Syria. What is happening in Kashmir and Pakistan. What is happening in Afghanistan. And what is happening in Iran and Saudi Arabia and Yemen and Saudi. We cannot settle the issue with any of these issues. And this is the time of fitna. The Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, then we return back to Allah and His Messenger and His Sahabas. We need to be steadfast and make dua for the khair for all our brothers and sisters. And there are two hadiths, one from Ali and one from Umar radiallahu anhu. قال إن الدعاء موقوف بين السماء والأرض لا يصد منه شيء حتى تصلي على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So your in Tirmidhi, 486 hadith, your dua is suspended between heavens and earth until and unless we attach salawat on Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For us, there is a clear message, there is a clear understanding, and there is no doubt about it, that if we could get the best of our reward from anything, is that to send on salawat on Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we have a salat in the recitation of the Quran, if we hear the ayat sajda, as the Sharia commands us, we should go into sajda. We must do the sajda. But sajda is only one time. After that recitation of the ayat, you don't need to do multiple sajdas. But whenever you hear Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam this ayat, Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi, every time we hear, we should send salawat upon Muhammad. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, on the Jummah, the Friday, your amal are presented to me. So you should send maximum salawat upon me, as much as you do. There are so many hadiths coming in my head and then slipping out of as I'm talking about. So we all understand, not that we do not know, but sometimes, فَذَكَّرْ إِنَّ ذِكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Remind each other, reminding us, especially in the month of Rabi'ul Awwal is coming. So people say that one should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the month of Rabi'ul Awwal, because Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam was born in this month. But who should be doing that? As a person of conscience, who should do it? Taking from the newborn till the elderly. If Quran says, وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ, that girl who was buried alive for no sin just because she was born as a girl, who is now living and become the honor for the parents, that she will bring the parents to the Jannah. That's how some said, who raised the daughter and married her, he will be with me in the Jannah like these two things. If you do not have a daughter and if you marry somebody else's daughter, will be in the Jannah with me like these two things. He kept increasing and reminding what honor is that daughter, as a ticket to the paradise for the father and mother. That girl should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the coming of Muhammad Rasulullah. The person who was a slave, Bilal al-Habshi radiallahu anhu, who was not worthy of anything and was beaten to the point where he was put the rock on his chest and was punished. We know about that in the history. What that kind of person who has no status in the community and rights of any existence, who became the general expedited, 2 military expedition ended Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam command. The slave became the general of the Muslim army. When Abu Umar radiallahu anhu was Amir al-Mu'mineen, and Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu, when he became the Muslim after Fatah Makkah, he came to visit Umar radiallahu anhu. and he was commanded to wait outside. He took about an hour or two because there was no watches in those days, so he was waited for a long time. And after when he came out of the room, he had Bilal radiallahu anhu with him. So Abu Sufyan still had that Arabic pride of being leader and chief of the tribes. So he felt very offended that for this slave, he kept me waiting for this long. So he turned to Umar and says, Umar, you make me wait for this guy. Umar radiallahu anhu says, so what's your problem? He said, I wanted to talk to you. He said, this is my Sayyid al-Bilal radiallahu anhu. He said, had I known that is what your problem, then I would have kept him longer time with me. To make you understand, he is my Sardar, he is my chief. You're not the only chief. So what honor Bilal radiallahu anhu got just becoming the Muslim, that kind of a slave person should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for coming with Muhammad Rasulullah. The women who were sold and traded with the son in the marriage should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the mother who have the paradise under her feet for her son. No matter how honorable and respectable and educated and scholarly he is and how much of a worshipper he is, unless his mother forgives him and accepts and be pleased with him, that person is not going to enter the Jannah. That father should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for having Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. لَقَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ بَعَثَ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَزِيزُ. We should be so much thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we do not comprehend this worldly wealth what we possess. We know that recently somebody has sent WhatsApp picture about one of the Farooqui millionaire person died. He had gold and so much wealth, and what all is left out. Nothing is remembered and nothing is known. What is known is Muhammad Rasulullah. Those Sahaba from Battle of Badr to the Battle of Yarmouk is about 11 years, 12 years distance time. The Muslim Ummah who was so minimum that they were afraid of their existence, they become the defeater of the Roman and Persian Empire, the superpower of that time, without much resources, without much knowledge and without much wealth. It came to the point in Abu Abdul Aziz anhu's time that they were not able to find a person to give zakat. The wealth was so prevalent among them. So we know that if we want success in the life, in the worldly life, we should do the ittaba and ata'at of Muhammad Rasulullah. But if we want to reach that level, we cannot reach that level till we have the wadda, the hubb for Rasulullah. And we need to transfer that love message to the other next of our generation. Those who are idealizing some other people who are not supposed to be the ideals. Today the morals of idols have changed, and we have to be mindful of that. So there are, a Sahabi came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I will just cut short. This is one of the very important hadiths we should know. And this is the Sahih hadith. It means there's no question about that hadith's authenticity. Sahabi came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, Ya Rasulullah, when I do the zikr at night, I do 1/3 of your salawat and rest of the zikr of Allah. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you increase it, it will be better for you. Then he said, okay, I will do more. He said, if you increase more, it will be better for you. He said, 3/4 of the night, I will do that. He says, if you increase more, it will be good for you. Then he said, what? Ya Rasulullah, I will do entire night zikr and salawat upon you. He said, if you could do that, that will be best for you. So all the best of the zikr is the zikr and the salawat upon Muhammad Rasulullah. We should comprehend this reality that without Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, no matter how much good our amal or are, they are not going to get us anywhere unless we have the love of Muhammad Rasulullah. Because Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul used to pray behind Rasulullah in Masjid al-Nabawi. And he used to kiss the hand of Rasulullah. This is also recorded in the history. Yet when he would go out, he would question the Nabi's teaching and command. So if something we do not comprehend, we should just quietly ask, respectfully question and ask for comprehension, rather than saying, I don't buy that. You are nobody to buy it now. Allah has made him Muhammad Rasulullah. So with this, we should understand that we do not have much of the option other than be the Ummah of Muhammad Rasulullah without any condition. Love has no precondition. When we love somebody, we like to be in that person's place. One more thing to understand. If we have a guest in our home, if we like the guest, what we do? we want him to come again and stay for longer. There are certain guests you don't want to stay for longer, but they are done, okay, goodbye. But there are certain guests you don't even want to enter to your home. You don't want to deal with it. And this is the situation of love of Allah and His Messenger and the house of Allah. Buyutullah fil ardi masajid. There are some people who stand outside, they don't come into the masajid. There are some people who come in and they run as if they are in trouble to run out of it. And there are some people who do not want to stand in the masjid. They do not prepare their classes. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who want to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger.